Understanding the conscious, the subconscious, and the unconscious layers of the mind are so, so important on your spiritual awakening journey. So in this video, I really wanted to talk about these layers so you can really get a handle on and understand what's unraveling for you on your awakening journey. Now, imagine, standing there looking at the ocean and you see an iceberg in the middle of the ocean. Now, just for those of you that may know, the iceberg is a great metaphor that is often used to kind of explain the layers of your mind, because it really helps us to understand what we can see and what we can't see. Now, if you take a look at an iceberg that was above the ocean, kind of like the picture that I'm sharing here, you will see that there is a piece that, hangs above the water, just above the water line. And then there is this massive depth to the iceberg that is deep down below that we do not see. Well, our mind is kind of the same way. What you can see at the top of, and above the water line is truly what you are conscious of, the decisions that you are making, what you understand your day-to-day to really be, what you're kind of aware of on your regular aspect as you move through life. But then you have your subconscious layer and the unconscious layer. And this is so, so important to understand, because truly what we are now finding, and science really backs this up, is that these layers are actually more in control of what's really taking place in our lives until we really become aware of what's happening in the subconscious and the unconscious, the deep, deep layer. And as this comes up for us on the awakening journey, your thoughts, your reactions, your emotions, you may really see some of the things that bubble up for you, and as much as you want to change them, sometimes they aren't shifting as easily. So what we can really say is we want to understand the subconscious and the unconscious, because they have a massive impact and a direct impact on how we lead our lives. And as we can make shifts to these layers, we can actually control our own reality and shift our own reality once we can get a good handle on them. Now, your conscious mind is truly that portion above the waterline that you can actually see. And, you think that you are in control of this. And so, therefore, on your day-to-day, in your daily life, you would say things like, I'm going to choose this for myself. I am going to decide this for myself. Meanwhile, even though you think you are in conscious, control over that decision, there are deeper patterns and, deeper information, knowledge that you've built over time that is really impacting that decision. So as much as you take a look at, that conscious mind, that conscious part of your mind as I am fully in control, I understand what's happening, I am in the driver's seat, the truth is there is a lot more underneath that is impacting that decision. Now, the next part of our mind we really want to understand is the subconscious mind. Now, looking at the iceberg image that, I've shown, you have, of course, just above the waterline, your conscious mind, and just below the waterline, what you cannot see, but also is much larger than your conscious mind, is your subconscious. I personally love the work of Dr. Bruce Lipton, and he actually mentions that the subconscious mind is operating almost 95% and impacting the decisions we truly make, versus the conscious mind is only about 5%. That is a huge and crazy difference if you really think about it. But with that being said, while we talk about the conscious mind really being you, the driver in the driver's seat, thinking that you are in control, well, the subconscious mind is actually your hidden navigation system. So what is in the subconscious mind? How did it really get there? Well, we're talking years and years of conditioned beliefs, things that you have truly picked up along your life's experiences, things that have been taught to you, conditioning that you've learned from your family, schooling system, so many things that are really just programming our brain. Now, neuroplasticity, actually, neuroscience has shown that there is almost what's in our subconscious mind is running on autopilot, and what is actually fed in there kind of runs in the background like an automatic tape recorder, and it overrides our conscious mind, and the decisions that we really want to truly make, that is actually dependent and impacted by what's in the subconscious mind. And this is really interesting and good for us to pay attention to, because it really shows us that what is in the subconscious mind, if that is what's truly dictating who we are, how we're leading our life, then well, it's really important for us to kind of take a look at that. Even if you didn't want to, even if you weren't interested in this, guess what? On a spiritual awakening journey, you are faced with looking at everything that's in the subconscious mind. When you go through an awakening process, you are going to have to face anything that did not serve you in the past, conditioning from your childhood, emotional reactions. Let's say you've lived most of your life being really angry. Well, on an awakening journey, this is going to come to the surface, and you will have to take a hard look at why you are so angry, and whether that's tied into childhood trauma, whether that's tied into any other previous experiences. Well, you're going to have to really meet it. The good news here is, even science backs this up, is that what is in the subconscious mind can actually be changed through awareness and through repetition. So really, if we are, looking at the same situation with sincerity, really understanding what happened, how it made us feel, and then rewiring it with something new, something we really actually want to experience. So let's say we no longer want to experience that anger and that hate. Well, let's look at how we can rewire our subconscious mind to not feel those emotions, not have those same old reactions, and really, start living our life from a place of not reactionary, but having full control in terms of being in the present moment, so that we are not just reacting from that old automatic programming that has been fed into the subconscious. So that is something for us to understand and really pay attention to as we move forward on our awakening journey. Now, last but not least, what we have is the unconscious layer of the mind, which is, of course, another layer that we do not see, but it is even deeper than the subconscious mind. And this truly comes from something we are completely oblivious to, and it is things like our survival instincts, that which we have also learned, from our lineage, our ancestral patterns, and things that have just been passed down to, from literally generation to generation, and are comprising of who we are. It's in our biology. And, we are literally living out a lot of the patterns that those that have gone before us, we are living those patterns once again, whether we want to or not. And therefore, this deep layer is very important for us to understand as well, because guess what? On a spiritual awakening journey, you are going to have to face this as well. For those of you that are going through a Kundalini awakening journey, you can actually see a lot of this bubble up in terms of diseases and sickness, and it makes you really aware of what is this? Why am I experiencing this? And as it bubbles up, you may get to learn that, what you are experiencing is symptoms that your grandmother had or your great-grandmother had. You may come to know this or you may not, but nevertheless, it is part of your awakening journey in one way or another. It may be just patterns that, either from your maternal side or your paternal side have just really carried on through and through with each person going down the line. And now you get to be the lucky one to really tackle it as you go through your spiritual awakening. And so becoming really aware of these patterns, the key here is to truly meet it with complete awareness and then work to rewire yourself. Neuroplasticity, neuroscience really shows that we can actually do this. As much as we're not in control of the patterning that, is kind of within us, there are actually things we can do to really change it now that we have become aware of it. And that's really where our focus should be, to take a look at what you want to transmute this into, what do you want to transform this experience into. And as you focus on the positive, focus on how you want to shift this, you will be able to move out of this patterning so that you can truly live a life where you are the one that is completely in the driver's seat. Just remember that a spiritual awakening is not about escaping the mind, but truly just meeting it with awareness so that it can be seen, acknowledged, and integrated in its entirety. That iceberg, with all its layers, just wants to be seen. And, as we go through a spiritual awakening journey, whether we want to or not, that opportunity is given to us. And so what we truly want to do is, as these, things, these patterns, these beliefs, these emotions really surface, we want to meet them with awareness so that we do not have these unconscious, parts of ourselves truly ruling our life. We want to get to a place where we can become the creator of our reality and lead a much, much better life than being ruled by those parts of us that we didn't even know existed. Thank you so much for listening. I really hope this was helpful. God bless.